Welcome everybody, welcome to Cardiff. On May the 11th, Lauren Price challenges for a world title for the first time as a professional and does so right here on home turf in Cardiff. And she's going in deep. She's going in deep because she's up against Jessica McCaskill, who is the reigning defending WBA World Welterweight champion, but who until not that long ago was undisputed at welterweight, had all four of those major belts, and she's never lost any of them in the ring. So she is, therefore, by definition, the number one fighter at 147 pounds. She's pretty well known to British audiences because we saw her fight Katie Taylor, we've seen her fight Chantel Cameron and Sandy Ryan. But you look at the stats for this one, Johnny, and it's one of these great ones where you can just come up with these fantastic little nuggets. Lauren Price is 6-0. McCaskill has had 10 world title fights. She's won 6 world titles. So the golfing experience as pros is huge, but at the same time, people feel like Lauren Price is ready. She did it all in the amateurs. She's an Olympic champion. She's had the learning fights she's needed, and now it's time to take the plunge.
Andy, it's obvious on paper, McCaskill is the favourite on paper because of everything she's done, all the experience she's got. Now it's the big ask from Lauren, because we know she has potential. We don't know how much potential she has. We know she's a good fighter. We know she's a strong, aggressive fighter. We know she's got the growth there. We just don't know how much she has. Now, up against McCaskill, there's two scenarios. The scenario could be she loses, but she learns a hell of a lot fighting someone that's so accomplished in McCaskill. Or she beats McCaskill, and this girl is nowhere near the finished article. And so all of a sudden you know how far she can rise, how good she can be. This is going to be a tough fight, but McCaskill's style actually suits Lauren down to the ground. So the only thing Lauren's lacking is experience, the ring experience, the round experience, the big fight experience. Now she's got it. She's always been a top performer in any sport, so that means she has the experience of dealing with pressure. And that usually affects a lot of fighters, dealing with the pressure. She deals with it well. So I think this is the kind of thing that gives a real hunter's mentality, where she thinks, I want that. I will do everything possible to do that, and I'm quite sure she will. The only thing she'll lack in is experience, and that will be the only thing that will run rings around her. So she's got to use her brute force, her strength, a potential to get through McCaskill. But it's going to be a tough night for both fighters, not just for Lauren.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do expect it to be a really good fight because McCaskill's that high-pressure kind of fighter. She loves, boxing away from home, which is generally what she always does. She loves that kind of underdog role, which she's generally always been in ever since she won her first world title, to be honest. You mentioned pressure there. The Olympics is a lot of pressure, obviously. It's a lot of pressure, but this is different. It's boxing for a world title in front of a home crowd, and in the pros you're expected to put yourself out there more. You're expected to give yourself to us, the press, to the public, a lot more, whether you kind of really want to or not. And fight week won't be like anything she's ever really had to do before. I
get that, but once you've got the ingredients of how to handle pressure, it doesn't matter where you put it. You just know how to put your brain, how to relax yourself, how to focus, understand the difference between nerves and fear. Once you've had that experience, you can adapt it to almost anything. So this is just a different anything for her to deal with. Yes, of course, she'll be thinking she doesn't know what she can do. She thinks she knows what she can do. When it comes to this fight now, when you see her fight, it's like she gets frustrated because her opponent's not there to have a tear-up. McCaskill's perfect. McCaskill will think, I'll give you exactly what you want. Let's see what you've got. And you've got to think, remember, Lauren is used to combat sports. She's used to feeling comfortable up close and personal. She's used to all of that stuff. So there's nothing that will shock her apart from the things she doesn't know, the inexperience. If she deals with that correctly, she'll be fine. I think she will. But she will learn a lot on the job. But she'll come through with flying colours.
How do you think McCaskill will play it, kind of today and in the build-up generally? Because I do feel like there's percentage gains that can maybe be made there if you're her. I listened to her on the podcast yesterday, and she's definitely going to try and take this role of, I've been there and done it. Yeah. This is too soon for you. You won all these medals. Well done. Big whoop. But this is too soon for you.
Careful. We've seen it happen too many times in our sport, and it's hard to respect a fighter mid-fight. If you think, do what Carl Froch did against George Groves, if you think, no, you shouldn't be in this game. I've been there before, I've done it. then you're going to underestimate and disrespect the person that's in front of her. If McCaskill goes in there with that attitude, which it'd be very hard to not have that attitude, because you think, look what I've done. This girl's had 6 fights. It's going to be very hard to give her the respect of another accomplished champion. It's going to be very hard to give her give her a chance in her head, as far as McCaskill's concerned. And that works in Lauren's favour. Because in reality, how could you be McCaskill thinking, this girl's had 6 fights and she's come to challenge me? You're going to go in there with an arrogance and ego and say it can never happen. And the art of surprise is everything. And that's why it suits Lauren down to the ground.
I do think McCaskill, though, has always had this really good kind of underdog mentality, because when she came through, it was hard for her to get any traction, because she didn't come through the Olympics or anything like that. She had to work really hard outside the ring to get opportunities. And she's, generally speaking, been an underdog. And I think she's carried that kind of chip on her shoulder all the way through her career. So I don't really... I mean, I like that. You know what that's like.
So the only way she can switch this round in her head is to think, they think she's going to beat me. She's been at the Olympics, she's done all this, so they think, so that's how she can create that chip on her shoulder. But in reality, she's got to think, you know what, I'm accomplished, I'm there. I've done it already. So there's no way she can think there's more favour to Lauren than there is to her. She's fighting in Lauren's backyard. Well, I'll do that because I'm confident enough and comfortable enough to do that. And some fighters, they need somebody to set that fire in their belly. I can remember Chris Eubank needed someone. He needed the fans to boo him because it made him the better fighter. And you see it over and over and over again. McCaskill might need to be the fighter that has a chip on the shoulder where the chips aren't in her favour. That means she's coming to Cardiff. That might work for her. But in reality, on paper, anybody and everybody that's around, they'll say, this girl's had 6 fights. You've never lost your belts. So she has to find another fire to burn in her belly to get this going.
People just taking their places at the top table behind us will be getting underway before not too long. These 10 2-minute rounds, there's big debate about 2-minute rounds, 3-minute rounds, but these 10 2-minute rounds, they do produce these fantastic firefight kind of spectacles, and that for me is another real challenge, because you've got to say, given what she's done and what we've seen of her, Lauren Price is a technically better fighter here. But being able to impose that over a 20-minute stretch when someone comes at you hard, you have to go with them because you've got to match them for that energy.
And this is my big bugbear about women's boxing. I think she'd make it 3-minute rounds, because fighters that would lose today would win tomorrow if it was a 3-minute round fight, and that would make all the difference. And I think some fighters, because then you're depending on skill factor, real skill factor. If you're fitter than me and I've got more experience than you, that might, you'll beat me. And I need, so it's about skill. And I always think the 3-minute rounds would suit this fight, and the fight would still get set on fire. It definitely suit Lauren. But it's a case of, if they can try and put that as a caveat in with this fight happening, so be it. But it's going to happen eventually, and some fighters will say, I want that. But when that does happen, we'll see a lot of different results with fights.
Okay, well, we're all ready to go. Let's throw over to Andy Scott.
Well, hello everyone. Hopefully you can hear me now. Yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon. Very warm welcome to Tramshed here in central Cardiff, where Boxer and Sky Sports are delighted to announce that on May the 11th, Lauren Price MBE will challenge Jessica McCaskill for a WBA World Welterweight title at the Utilita Arena. Now, unless my Google skills have let me down, and I can only apologise in advance, but I think there have been 13 Welsh world champions, starting with Percy Jones all the way back and all the way through now to Joe Cordina. But if Lauren Price can dethrone our American visitor, one of the best fighters in the world, she would become the first female from these shores to do so. Price also became the first ever Welsh boxer to capture Olympic gold, and is yet to lose a round as a professional. But the jump in class is significant. We welcome our visitors from the United States, Jessica McCaskill and her coach and manager, Rick Ramos, a 2-weight world champion, a former undisputed belt holder at 147 pounds, who twice beat one of the greatest females of the modern era in Cecilia Brackhouse, and has more world title fights than Price has had professional bouts. Now, it's either fortune favours the brave and the right time to make the jump and make the fight, or It's a bridge too far, and it proves that there can be no substitute for experience. On May the 11th, we will find out. Ben, great fight to make. It probably wasn't easy with the negotiations to get this through, but you're confident, and you always have been in Lauren Price, but it is a game of risk, it is a game of high stakes, and a game of chances. So why are you so confident that this is the right step up for Lauren against a quality champion?
Yeah, first of all, big thank you to Rick Ramos and Jessica, because this is a huge fight for Lauren and a huge fight for her as well. I think Lauren's broken that many records in her life. You sat there after 6 fights, having not lost a round, and you're thinking, she's just levels above this. She needs a real test. And so this opportunity came up. Jessica McCaskill, a 2-weight world champion, and you sat there and you're thinking, now we have the opportunity to go to Cardiff. When we sat down and we signed Lauren, there were 2 things on the list: become a world champion and fight in Cardiff and build her name and build her legacy. And you look at what Katie Taylor has achieved in Ireland, you look at more recently what Tasha Jonas has achieved in Liverpool, and that's what she wants to do in Wales. That's been the dream from the start. To do it this early, many will say maybe it is too early. I know Jessica and Rick, for them, this is too early for Lauren Price. This is her 7th fight. She hasn't been at this level before, but when you've got someone that's broken records throughout her career in many different disciplines as well, you take those risks, and it's a huge opportunity for Lauren. Obviously, her talent is unquestionable. Can she do it this early on in her career? Can this be the start of many famous nights? And yeah, I think we've got possibly a British boxing legend, a Welsh boxing legend in the making, but this is a huge test and one that she can't look beyond.
One of the key words there is homecoming. So you're always going to do a homecoming, be it in her debut, or be it for her first world title fight, or be it when she won the British title. But presumably now is the rallying cry that you need everybody that is a Lauren Price supporter, you need everybody that is a supporter of Welsh boxing to come out on the 11th and make it a Lions Den atmosphere. Not that I'm sure Jessica will mind one bit, but atmosphere is key, home advantage is key as well.
Yeah, and we've seen it so many times throughout the years in Welsh boxing, and I expect the same. Since we signed Lauren, the interest from Wales, the interest, I don't think we see it necessarily if you're based in England, you're based in Scotland, but the interest in Lauren, BBC Wales, S4C, everyone wants to be part of this event, broadcast this event, because she truly is a star. She's the first ever Welsh boxer to win a gold medal. She's an MBE. She's the most decorated British boxer in the amateur sport of all time. They're very proud of her. They want to go and see her break records now in the professional sport, and they get to have a famous night where she fights for her first world title on May the 11th. I expect a huge atmosphere and a very famous night.
Okay, I'll come back to you, but I want to welcome Team McCaskill. And Rick, I'll come to you first, if you'll permit me. Welcome back to the UK. You've been all over the world, boxed together as a team. This is nothing new for Jessica, but when you listen to Ben Shalom there, it's all good copy, it's all good headlines, but do you think that these guys have made a terrific mistake?
Yeah, you know, Jessica and myself, wherever we go, we try to win. We come to win. We upset some people that we probably shouldn't have on paper. We're just here. We're grateful to be here. Boxer, everyone, Ben Shalom, John, everybody's treated us tremendously since we got here. So we're excited. We're obviously trying to derail the Lauren Price train. All respect to her and her family. But we're just here to put on a good show.
The boxing landscape, I mean, someone in there having had 6 professional fights, challenging for a world title, okay, it's not particularly unheard of, but at the same time, is there any substitute for experience? Jessica has done it against the very best, beaten the very best. Lauren could be the best, but we don't know yet, and that's the big question. We don't quite know how good Lauren Price is.
You know, experience plays a role, obviously. Fighting in your hometown, I think a lot of people think that you have the advantage, but a lot of times that, you know, the media wants you running around, doing appearances, and, you know, you have your families and your friends are very close, and sometimes that's a distraction. But experience plays a role. Just seen it all, been through it all, and, you know, we're excited to be a part of this fight. And like I said, we just want to derail the Lauren Price train, respectively.
Yeah, before I move on to the fight, it's just how confident are you?
Like I said, we're confident in what we do. You know, obviously I understand her background. I understand that we're in her hometown. I understand what we're going up against. We could potentially be going up against the judges. So as long as everybody plays by the rules and plays fair, we have a chance to put on a great show, both of us. Win, lose, draw, whatever, we came to play.
I'll welcome the champion. Plenty of nice things being said about you up here, and this is nothing new to you. Is there any feeling of disrespect at all that someone in their 7th professional fight can come and rip those titles away, or is there kind of a mirror image here? You were once the Lauren Price coming through, and you were challenging champions, and you just know that that's the game?
I see a lot of that, what the latter. I see a lot of myself in this specific situation, and as far as where boxing for females was and where it is now, that's exactly what we need. We need people not to be afraid. We need people to take the challenge. We need people to stop waiting around for someone to get old or to lose or to whatever. And we're just trying to build female boxing, and this is how you do it.
You were, part of 2 incredible fights, really, with Cecilia Brackhouse, which was if you don't mind me saying, a passing of the torch moment where you took it on and ran with it. How do you guard against the same happening to you and Lauren Price coming through and being the Jessica McCaskill in this situation?
I feel like Cecilia was very much kind of put herself on a pedestal in a way and forgot about what boxing really is. It's fighting. It's fighting for everything that you've put into the sport. I don't see my friends all the time. I'm missing my dog right now, and I don't get to travel back home and, things like that. And there's so much sacrifice, at least for me, that every time I get into that fight, that person is paying for my sacrifices. So I think she forgot a lot about those things of what boxing really is, and she just let herself kind of age, and she just got the torch taken from her.
And you can guard against that, obviously, with yourself.
Yeah, I feel like that I'm not, I feel like I'm very focused, and I'm not letting people get to my head or things or, the flashing lights or things like that. It's not about that. It's about every morning that I get up at 3:30 to go train, and the people in the gym that are training with me. Those are the things that keep me driving, and as long as I have them, there's no reason to feel like I'm not ready for this.
I think the UK boxing crowd is a knowledgeable crowd. They know when they're witnessing a good fighter and a great fighter. But at the same time, there's no point in me beating around the bush. You are going to get probably a hostile welcome. How do you cope with that? How confident are you that won't affect you? I know that you talked about yesterday maybe getting some Rick Ramos boxing scarves. I don't think that will help you in this regard. But yeah, a couple of boos are probably going to make their way during your attendance here.
I welcome the boos. I welcome the energy. It's just the energy, and energy is transferable. So if you're giving any kind of energy out, I'm going to take it and I'm going to transfer it to myself and use it for whatever I need it to be. So, if they're for me or against me, that's okay, and I'm going to use that energy.
Is it too soon for Lauren?
My Katie Taylor fight was around the same time, 6, 7 fights, and it catapulted me being able to show what I could do in the ring with Katie Taylor with only 25 amateur fights, catapulted my career. And I think that this could do the same for her. And I don't think it's too soon. She's an athlete. She's all around athlete, not just boxing, but she's played other sports. So I think she'll be fine. She'll be safe. She knows her body. If it were anybody else, I would probably say, yes, this is too soon. But I think this is a good challenge for her.
Rick actually said to me off camera, it's one of the first times that you actually like your opponent. You like Lauren Price, which is great because I think, security, you can have a cup of tea at this stage. Famous last words of a fool. But you do have admiration for her. It doesn't mean that you once the first bell rings, I'm sure respect goes out the window, but it doesn't mean that you don't appreciate what she did as an amateur and as a pro so far.
Right. A fight is a fight is a fight, and on fight day, that's exactly what it'll be. But I have an appreciation for how she talks about her team and how she seems to be well taken care of, and the drive that she has. We did interviews yesterday, and she was at the gym doing the interview. She had just finished working out, and so it's just like I see some of the key aspects that you should have as a fighter, and they're showing up. And I don't know Lauren personally. I just, I'm so over the dramatic calling people out on the internet and saying like rude and ridiculous things and flipping tables. I'm not going to flip this table today. So I'm just kind of over that, and I just want to fight and do what I can before I'm done.
Yeah, well, I welcome everything you said there, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to have a good fight. You don't need to do that in today's boxing. Hopefully, let's bring in Lauren. Can keep that table screwed down over there as well. Great to see you. This is a chance you've been banging the drum for. Ron McCracken's been banging the drum for, but you've timed it hopefully perfectly. But why are you so confident that the 6 fights that you've had so far have prepared you for this jumping quality?
I think obviously, like, when I first, turned over professional, I turned over as Olympic champion. Everyone expected me, to move fast. 6 fights, and when you look at them 6 fights, I feel like, I've enjoyed myself in there, and I haven't really been tested. I haven't really got out of, first gear, if anything. I've won the rounds quite comfortable, every single round on the scorecards. So for me now, it's going to be my 7th professional fight. I want to be involved in these big fights. I got complete respect for Jessica McCaskill. She's a legit champion. It's not as if I'm going in there boxing for a vacant title. She's been there, she's worn the t-shirt, and I got total respect for that. I know it's my toughest test to date, but I believe in myself. Rob believes in me, and that's it really. I believe I win, and yeah, I can't wait.
How did that conversation go with Ben? He'll give his own version of events, no doubt. But did you say, bring me the best name, bring me the biggest name, don't need to worry about how I get there, but I want a real challenge?
Yeah, going back, obviously, I last boxed in December, and, I said in fight week, I put it out there, I would fight any one of the champions, and I got to, give respect to Jessica again, for giving me a chance, because the others, they didn't want to know. So, complete respect there. And like I said, I just, can't wait to get on now, May the 11th. I know it's my toughest test to date, so I'm going to train my arse off these next 8 weeks and give it my all.
What do you think you'll feel like at the top of that ramp? I've already heard you say in interviews, I want to do what Joe Calzaghe did here. With that place packed out, top of the ramp, walking to the ring in your first world title challenge, you strike me as someone that's very much in control of their emotions all the time. But do you think that you'll sort of soak that up and that'll give you the extra sort of 10%? Do you think there'll be some good nerves there? Do you think you'll feel ready at that point to fulfill your destiny in the pros?
Yeah, definitely. Like Ben said earlier, I had 2 things on my list when I turned over. I wanted to box in Wales and I want to become world champion. And yeah, you look at obviously like Welsh boxing, for me to follow in the footsteps of Joe Calzaghe, he's a complete legend, and that's what I want to do. I want to become a Welsh legend. I want to bring big nights back to Wales. And don't get me wrong, it's a little bit of added pressure. It's different. You're coming out in front of your own fans, something I'm yet to experience. But, I've had pressure throughout my whole career, going into an Olympic final with the whole nation on my shoulders, expected to win gold. I've dealt with pressure, and I'm sure, I'll come through, with flying colours when it comes to, like you said, walking out in front of my own fans and soaking it all up, and being at home and having that Welsh support, because I haven't boxed at home for about 10 years. So, yeah, it's going to mean the world to me.
I think we're in an era now where we don't have to make any differentiation between male boxing and female boxing, but it would be silly not to make the point that you would become the first ever Welsh female to win a world title. How does that sound, to be the first to do it?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, obviously, like going throughout my career. I've made history a few times, and, to add that to my list as well, I'm very, very proud to be Welsh. So, yeah, to become the first ever, yeah, that'll be special.
This is, all great, but you have to make sure that you do it. And I know Jessica and Rick will be sitting there and listening to this saying they think it's a done deal. What sort of fight are you expecting from Jessica, and putting it bluntly, how do you beat her?
For me, obviously, like, Jessica, I think, looking at her fight, she likes a dog fight. She likes, for you to get dragged in, kind of make it messy sometimes. She's tough, she's strong. But for me, I just got to listen to Rob, listen to what I've been working on, stick to my, boxing. I believe I'm the better boxer, use my speed, use my skill, and, just, take it round by round and win the rounds.
Are we all falling into a little bit of a trap that I think you are pigeonholed, you are put into a bracket of you're a come-forward, aggressive, front-foot fighter, but I know previously the two of you spoke about there's more to your game than that, and you have tried to show that, particularly in your last couple of fights. Are we all being a bit blind to put you in that bracket, that you can box if you need to box, but you also have tremendous success when you are attacking?
I don't think there's an appreciation for the boxing that I do, or any of the more thought-out things that we do in the ring. I think that they're overlooked because people are looking for those, big right hands or things like that, or they're looking for that pressure for me to walk somebody down. So, like Rick I definitely came in as a brawler, and he taught me how to box, and I don't think that people see it. So I think it's still just kind of under the radar, oddly enough. But, I do feel like I get put into this bracket of brawling, and which I love. I kind of hate boxing. I love brawling. So it's not anything that's offensive or anything like that. It's just kind of what I've done for so long. And over time, Rick has been able to give me some other elements.
I'm not trying to create a fake beef here, but do you think that, I heard you say it yesterday on Sky Sports News, that perhaps people were thinking that it's a done deal, that the fight is already won?
Because of me or my experience is that what you mean?
More just some of the comments in terms of Lauren's got her chance now. Everybody knows how good she is here. That maybe they think it's a done deal already. That perhaps you're not getting the credit you deserve as a champion that's been around for the best part of, since the Katie Taylor fight announced you, I think 2017 from memory.
I feel like I just normally get downplayed. I have a lot of firsts, and some of those things just kind of get walked over and not paid attention to, maybe because of the opponent or maybe because the fans of the opponent, but it's just something that I have to bring back to everybody's recognition of what I can do, and I'll have to show it every time I show it, but I'm going to have to show it.
Rick was calling for a level playing field there and fair judging. I mean, one of the ways to ensure that is to not leave it to the judges. You do hit hard. We've seen that. There's evidence of that. Do you believe you hit hard enough to test the chin of Lauren Price and win this inside the distance? Yeah,
I feel like, every fighter has the opportunity to make that happen, and I feel like I'm going to look for those opportunities, obviously. But like you said, it's up to the judges to be fair. It's up for the referee to be fair. It's not fair when you go into the locker room and you say, I expect this, and then when you get into the fight, the other person is doing those exact things, so you look for everybody to play their role and not get caught up in what's going on, and to make sure that they're doing their job. I think it's really important.
Your amateur career, is there a style that you haven't faced? Is there anything that you haven't seen? Is there anything that Jessica brings to the table that you haven't done, albeit with a vest and a head guard on?
No, you look at obviously I box at middleweight as an amateur. I boxed against Savannah Marshall. I boxed, I've had 75 kilo Russians running at me. There's nothing, I haven't faced from even boxing, top technical level boxers in my Olympic final, boxing against, the Chinese. You don't really get no more technical than that. So for me, from an amateur point of view, I have faced every style out there. Don't get me wrong, I know pros are different to amateurs, and I know this fight is going to get tough at times, but I'm going to prepare for that. Like I said, I got a great coach in me and Rob. We seen what he done with Frotch and AJ. He knows the game inside out, and my fully trust is in with him. So, I'm working with him the next 8 weeks, and I truly believe, I can go all the way and create greatness and become a Welsh legend, and bring big nights back to Cardiff.
I'll give you the final opportunity just to pass a message to each other. I mean, it doesn't have to be blood, guts and thunder. I don't think we're going to get that today, but what will you say to Jessica as your parting message? Just, good luck, have a great camp, and I'll see you on May the 11th.
Same thing. I mean, I have high expectations for you. I think you're doing some amazing things in boxing, and I want to see you do well, not well enough to beat me, obviously. But I just hope that you're going to do everything right in camp, and so that when we get to this fight, it's on.
And Ben, I'm not pushing you under the bright lights. Presumably there's undercard news to come in the coming weeks as we build towards this big event in Cardiff. Yeah, it'll be a huge night for Welsh boxing. I do urge everyone to come out, and it's not every day you have a fighter after 6 fights wanting to test themselves. It really is a great fight, and it's a great test. But yeah, a full card. A lot of Welsh talent on the card as well. It'll be a great night for Welsh boxing on May the 11th, and fingers crossed we see something spectacular. There you go. What a lovely, pleasant press conference that we've had here today. We will now pose the fighters for a head-to-head at the front, and then there'll be plenty of time for everyone to get one-on-ones with everybody at the top table. Thank you very much for joining us today.
I've just been treated to the sight of Johnny Nelson crawling along the floor on his hands and knees to stay under the camera. He's just sat on the sweater of Lauren Price's Nana thing there, which is just an unbelievable faux pas from Johnny Nelson. But you can't take him anywhere. What did you make of that? Because it was very, very civil. It doesn't have to be the case that fighters have to go at each other. If that legitimate, authentic, mutual loathing sometimes is there, then it can work for publicity purposes. But we've got two fighters here who are they're really solid and secure in who they are. They don't really feel the need to say anything other than what they believe to be facts.
The fact is this: Jessica McCaskill got up there. She says she respects Lauren, which she does do. She says everything Lauren's done, I did when I was in that position when I boxed Katie Taylor. Again, it's common sense. How she talks about Lauren, she's done her homework. She knows everything about a sporting career coming through. That means she understands the threat that's in front of her. So it's about self-belief. She knows what she's capable of doing. And again, the way she talks, she's saying, you know what, she's kind of keeping it in place, say, you know what, you'll learn from this. And it's talking to him that way. You learn from this, you'll be all right here. I'm the boss here. And that's how the conversations it's got to flow. And that's what she's got to do. She's got to kind of subtly trying to stamp her authority to say, I'm the boss here. But you'll learn. You'll do all right. Basically accepting you've lost, but good on you, I'm your friend. Where's Lauren? Lauren, you flick a switch. You flick a switch when the bell goes. There's no need for nasties, and both girls can switch it on when they need to switch it on. But when it comes to fight time, that's when the professionalism will turn up.
I remember a really similar kind of dynamic when Anthony Joshua boxed Vladimir Klitschko. Obviously, they knew each other from sparring camps and stuff like that. But Klitschko took the big brother role, didn't he? The kind of, this is too soon for you, but never mind. Yeah. I'm sure you'll do well, and it'll be a packed arena, and everybody will be pleased for you, and you'll get some credit for it, and you can come again. Don't worry.
And that's what I clocked. Straight away. That's what I clocked when she was speaking away. She was speaking as though to say, "I'm your boss. I really like you, and good luck." Basically putting it in your subconscious to say you're not going to win, you're not as good as me, but you'll learn and you'll be a good fighter eventually. She has to do that, and that's the maturity. That's the maturity of a champion, of a more mature fighter, and that's something she's picked up along the way. This is, in years to come, Lauren might be doing this with an opponent that fights her. Smarts. There doesn't have to be any bad blood or anything. It's just about psychological edges, and Jessica, as a fighter, I clocked that straight away. I thought, I know exactly what you've just done there.
I feel like Lauren absolutely will be going down that road herself in future years. We'll grab a chat with the pair of them at some point. McCaskill was interesting, though, because I remember speaking to her before she came over to fight Katie Taylor, and at that stage, she pretty much... Well, I'll continue. I was just saying, I remember speaking to you before you came over to fight Katie Taylor, and you were taking me through your backstory and how it was hard. It was hard outside the ring. You took up boxing late. It was hard to get that traction, to get on shows, to get signed, and you had the desk in the corner of the gym, so you would do your boxing work and then you would switch over to your banking job. And, it was graft, wasn't it? It was a grind. But off the back of that Katie Taylor showing, you announced yourself to the world, like you said up there. And look at what's happened since, 10 world title fights you've had now. You've won 6 world titles, undisputed at welterweight. I mean, could you have imagined that?
I definitely didn't imagine that. I would assume that was the goal, but I was so tunnel vision that I just wanted to get to the next fight and get to the next challenge. And then when we started fighting for belts, it was like, I want a belt and I want the next belt. And then it just kind of grew from there, but I wasn't really looking so far down the pipe. But I just knew that I wanted to do the best that I could in every single situation.
And just before we get into the specifics of this fight, I feel like you having the kind of career that you're having at the time that it's happened has actually been really important for women's pro boxing, because post-2012 a lot of the big names have been Olympians, Olympic gold medals, Olympic medalists, and it'd be easy for people looking on from the outside or people looking to take up the sport or make strides to feel like you have to have done that. So for you to have done what you've done without that background, do you sometimes feel like a bit of a flag bearer for people who haven't gone down that road, a bit of a, the champion of the underdog in a way.
Of course. I mean, I started boxing in 2008, and females weren't even boxing in the Olympics until 2012. So starting out my career, that wasn't something that I was naturally looking at because it wasn't even an option. And it is more of an option to go pro or to stay as an Olympian, to the point where they've now said that pros can be Olympians. A lot of things have changed in the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years or more. But I do feel like you have the option. You don't have to just follow everyone's cookie cutter roadmap. You can make your own blueprint.
Do you identify with her because of that, Johnny? Because that's your career, isn't it?
I do. One thing I do want to ask is, you mentioned earlier on you were in exactly the same position when you boxed Katie Taylor, and so could you put yourself into the same mindset as Lauren to think, because at the time when you went into fight Kate, you thought, I'm going to beat her. I can do this. I know what I'm capable of doing. Can you understand where she is mentally in regards to stepping in with you?
Oh, I can definitely see where she is mentally, and the only thing that's different here is the experience, and there's amateurs and there's pro, and I feel like pro is just very different, and so she doesn't have the pro experience, and that could be the main factor here. The drive, the training, her team. I think she has a great sense of elements behind her, but she's going to see. She says she's seen a lot of different styles, but she hasn't seen crazy, and a little bit of crazy is going to be in that ring.
and just an odd one. Did the 2 minutes or 3 minute rounds suit you better? 2 minute or 3 minute rounds?
I don't feel like the 2 minutes the 3 minutes have been medically cleared yet, and that's the thing that worries me. We're just now getting more females into this pool of fighters, and what happens when you get knocked out is that you are on suspension, and you're suspended for however long they think you need to be suspended.
Yeah, but would it suit your style, the 2 minutes?
My style? Yeah. I've trained for the longest on 3 minute rounds. I made the switch on the second Cecilia fight, so I think it's something that I'm used to. And I think it could benefit either way because I don't think other people are used to it. So I could do either.
Okay, I think you're on quite the tight schedule, so we will let you go. But great to see you. Great to see you again. We've been following you over here. So you boxed other Brits as well in the meantime, of course. And yeah, I think people really took to you when you came over to fight Katie Taylor because they saw you dig in and really give it some. And everybody loves that, don't they? So we'll let you go. Best of luck. Hope the rest of the camp goes well. I feel with the kind of style thing with Jessica as well is that it is easy to classify her as a brawler. She mentioned it herself up there, but the reality is that can't be true because you can't do what she's done if you just step into the middle of the ring and start swinging. At that level, if you do that, you'll get slaughtered. So there's much more to her.
I remember Mike McCallum. I keep going back in history, so some of you might not know what I'm talking about. I remember Mike McCallum. He was training to fight Harold Graham for the world title. And in the press conference, he said to Harold Graham, you don't run, and I'll show you what a fight is. Mike McCallum was an unbelievable technician. His nickname was the Body Snatcher. He could box, he could bang. And he talked Harold into fighting his style of fight. He knew he'd never be able to outbox Harold. So he appealed to his ego to say, come on, you stand there, have a fight with me, we'll see what's going on here. The rest is history. Harold lost the fight, but I think he lost a point for getting involved in a brawl mid-fight. But it's about the mind games as well. Yes, I'm quite sure for Jessica, she says she's an offensive fighter. She's a front foot fighter. That's what she wants. And the way Lauren's talking, she believes she can outbox her. She's a better boxer, so that'll be defensively. So Lauren's going to have to learn to fight on the job. And you see how Lauren fights. It's about holding her back, behave yourself, So I think they just need to be able to let her off the leash and make sure her tank doesn't empty when they let her off the leash. And if they do that, then I think Jessica's going to be in shock. I think Lauren's going to see a side to her, a fight game that she didn't realise she had.
I think ego, it always plays a big part in any fight, doesn't it? But I think for the reasons you just outlined there, it really does in this one because Lauren Price, we feel like, has got the technically superior boxing skills. But making that count over that 20-minute sprint, I think McCaskill will do whatever she can to try and make sure that she isn't in a position to impose that. And that involves goading her into doing something that she probably shouldn't do.
That's right. And this, and again, and Jessica said it herself, it's about experience. And it's not just about round experience, the every second of every minute of every round. It's about experience. It's the pre-fight, the foreplays, and getting into your opponent's head to make them think tactics, change tactics, use different tactics than what they normally do. And this is where it all starts now. This is all experience of the fight game. It's just not when the bell goes. So these little conversations, these little things that they're saying, they know for a fact that Lauren is as strong as an ox. They know for a fact she loves the tear-up. They know that. She's saying, I love a tear-up. Don't be surprised of what you see there. They're experienced fighters. They're experienced team. It's a husband and wife team. They're an experienced team. So they know what they do and how to play this game.
She's very, very quick, Lauren Price. She's got that kind of warp speed when she needs it. But I do feel like one thing that she's shown us the last couple of fights is that she slowed everything down a little bit, because when you've got that kind of speed, what you don't want is for it to just be blind speed. The reality is you don't need to be moving at that warp speed. You just need to be quicker than your opponent.
I think this will lift her as a fighter, because you've seen frustration in her 6 professional fights there, where the quality of the opponents have just not been there. So now she's got the quality. Step in. We're talking about you.
So what's interesting to me is people talking about, is it too soon? I understand why they ask it, because you've had 6 fights, and journalistically it's kind of an obvious thing to ask, but what else was there to do now? Because you've got some rounds in, and you're at that level where another interim fight, that means fighting another contender, but why would they want to do that? Because rankings are at play. I mean, this was the obvious thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I called her in December on my last fight. I obviously said I'd fight any one of the champions. My whole plan, when I turned over as pro, I want to move fast. I want to be involved in them big fights. I believed in myself. Rob believed in me. To go and win an Olympic gold medal, you kind of, when you turn over as a pro, you're already, I suppose, that far ahead as well, in a way. So for me, it just makes sense. I feel like I'm ready, Rob feels like I'm ready, and for me, that's all that matters. As long as he backs me, then, I'm going into camp, I'm giving it my all, and I believe, I'll get the win.
People are talking about pressure and nerves and all that kind of stuff, and that's completely understandable, because the Olympics is massive pressure. This will be slightly different because the context is different, but I remember talking to you about all of this and mentality, you and Karis, before Christmas, and the phrase you came up with was, fire in the belly, ice in the mind. That's exactly it, isn't it? For this situation, home crowd, first time you're boxing in Wales for a long time, a lot on the line, that separation is key.
Yeah, definitely. That comes back from my football days, That's what they used to say to me, fire in the belly, ice in the mind, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, Obviously the ring walk and having that crowd there is amazing, and I'm going to soak it all up and enjoy it. But I know as soon as I step into that ring, there's only one man I'm going to be listening to, and that's Rob. I got to be fully focused, and I suppose, that's one thing I kind of do well. I kind of block the crowd out. So for me, I just got to, round 1, win that round, and then go on and do what I got to do.
I mean, it is key, isn't it? It's not necessarily that, it's not that easy a thing to do, that kind of compartmentalisation.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the one thing that's probably stood out to you, is, again, it's that experience. She mentioned it. I'm quite sure many people have mentioned it. Does the round, the ring, the experience in difference between the two of you, does that bother you at all? Or when you were calling all the champions out, you believe that what you have is enough to negate anything, any experience they've got in front of you?
Yeah, definitely. I believe in my, ability, my skill level, my boxing ability, and I feel like, I've had 6 fights now as a pro. Each fight I'm getting better and better, and I believe, in time I will season into a great professional. I believe that, I am going to become one of the greatest, to take over and do that. But right now I feel like this fight, it's the right time. You look at my last 6 fights, and I haven't really, had to, dig deep and kind of, go through the gears and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, I expect Jessica to test me. I know, she's going to come with a dog fight, and I know it's going to get tough in there. But, I've been in tough scenarios like that before. I've been up against, legitimate girls in the amateurs. Don't get me wrong, I know it's different. But I've been in scenarios like that, and the next 8 weeks, I'm going to, go through all that with Rob again, and I'll be prepared no matter what.
Just a little tip. I know you two are friends. I'm not trying to cause trouble. What I'm saying is, I noticed, and I've seen it with fighters before, where she's praising you, she's blessing you, saying you're a great fighter, you'll do well. She's basically saying, subtly saying, you're not going to win, but you're going to do well. Please tell me you clock that stuff. Don't fall.
Definitely. I know that she's going to come out from round 1 and try and take my head off. I got no doubt in that. She's the champion at the end of the day, and I respect her. I got ultimate respect for her. But
I'm not a friend.
I'm not a friend, but no, definitely. For me, as a person, I come across, I am a nice person, and I'm laid back and I'm quite chilled. I don't really run my mouth because that's not me. But, when it comes to the boxing, when I got to dig deep and have a fight, I will.
I'm actually looking forward to fight week because, as you said up there, you haven't boxed in Wales for 10 years, and that's kind of the price you pay when you go into that GB Elite Performance squad. It takes you away from home, basically. That's the real, and that's hard as well. It's a lonely old life, this, isn't it? But you look at the glory days of some of the amazing times we've had down here at the arena and at the stadium, and Joe won a world title last year, Joe Cordina. It's time for a new wave, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You see what Katie Taylor's done for Ireland. I want to do the same for Wales. For me, like you said, I'll win this fight. I've made history again, and that's all I want to do. I want to be boxing in Wales. Bring boxing back to Wales. We've seen what Calzaki done, and stuff like that, and. It's just, I suppose, it's time now for me to fly the flag as well and get big nights back to Wales.
Do you feel like people don't really understand, if they're not from here, just the absolute fever for sport that there is in Wales generally, but particularly in South Wales?
Oh yeah, definitely. We're a small nation, a very proud country. You see it with, the rugby, the Six Nations. You see it with the football. Everyone gets behind their own. You've only got to go out, on a rugby match, go to Cardiff. The street is full. Everyone, supports and turns out. So for me, I'm hoping, May 11th they all come out for me and support me, and I'm sure they will, because up to now, the Welsh support that I have received has been insane.
Do you think we're ready for a new kind of era in Welsh boxing?
I think Wales is ready for a new hero, and it's the new era, and I think it'll be left in good hands, and I think you'll be very responsible in what you're doing too.
Yeah, Andy asked you actually, what it'll feel like when you're standing at the top of the ramp. I mean, how much do you think about stuff like ring walks and the music and how you want to do it and all that kind of stuff? Because you do come across as quite no nonsense, but also meticulous, and that kind of thing. Not many athletes get that. It's this thing we've got in boxing that other athletes don't get.
Yeah, I think obviously it is going to be an added pressure, and it is going to be different,
But fun.
But yeah, exactly. And I'm going to soak it up. I'm going to enjoy it. I am. I'm going to take it all in. But I know, obviously when I get to that ring, it's down to business then. And like Johnny said, as soon as that bell goes, she's not my friend anymore. And I know she's going to, bring it to me. So I've got to be ready, I've got to be prepared, and I certainly will be. And I'm taking, like I turned over, my goal was and my dream was I want to become world champion. So to have 3 world titles on the line, I'm going to go for it all the way. And I believe, I come out on top.
Okay, thanks. We'll let you go. You're going to be here for a while, by the way. You're going to be here for a while. Get used to this. I know you're kind of used to it already, but you've got plenty of interviews coming your way. Yeah, she's very consistent, isn't she, in how she is with us. And sometimes when you get fighters who don't necessarily have as much to say as others, it's easy to look at them and feel like they maybe lack a little bit of confidence, but often I go the other way. I feel like the ones who don't need to say that much, the reason they don't feel the need to is because they're completely confident, and she's always struck me as one of them.
Yeah, I think from the day one when she turned pro, there was I always thought this young girl believes in herself, no matter what. And there are a few fighters that, no, I don't have to shout. I just have to prove it when I get in the ring. Now that might affect you commercially, because you want to, get the imagination going. You want to be like in the pantomime. They either love you or hate you. But for certain fighters, if you can fight and you're in a position, you've got that platform, and you don't have to use your mouth, you don't have to be in someone's face, then the world's an oyster. I think for Lauren, if her opponent was in her face, she'll answer that. but she doesn't need to be the aggressor. She just thinks, my fight, she fights aggressively. Her style of fight is that you can't go and try and pickpocket her. She wants to tear up. She gets frustrated when that's not in front of her, and that's why this fight will suit her style down to the ground. And so this fight will tell us how good potentially she can be, regardless of how it turns out.
Well, it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough because Jessica McCaskill, as outlined, is the name in the welterweight division in female pro boxing. She became undisputed, beating Cecilia Brækhus, who had never lost. She was 36-0 at the time, a long reigning #1, not just in that division, but in the whole of the sport. So that's where she's been, McCaskill. And she comes here with a lot of confidence. She will come here on May the 11th with a lot of confidence, but so does Lauren Price, an Olympic gold medalist. But now is the time for her to put that one on the shelf almost, get that first world title belt, and then just crack on from there. I can't wait for it. May the 11th, live on Sky Sports.